Welcome to the podcast of Terrace
Hello,
Consulting.
and welcome to a new episode of the Taurus Consulting podcast. I have a pleasure today of having with me Sheila Krishnan, which is a revenue management and commercial consultant here in the UK. Sheila, how are you? Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Pablos. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on your show. And of course, first of all, congratulations on your recent achievement, being within the global top 50 of hospitality influencers. So that's an amazing achievement.
Thank you. Thanks very much. And thanks for your time. I was telling you before starting recording, so doing a lot of interviews now with revenue managers, senior profiles in the industry. And there's a lot of talk about revenue and sales and commercial. And I thought of you as a perfect example how to mix them both and how you can do both roles. Well, we'll go into that in a second. What I wanted to focus first, as always, is first it's why hospitality, why revenue. So what made you choose this career, and how has been your career?
So I have been in hospitality for 2 decades now. I started in front of office, moving on to various roles from reservations to events, then revenue and commercial. Why hospitality? I got into hospitality without planning. I studied accounting and finance in university. And whilst in university, I got a part-time job in the hotel during summer semester break. I was meant to leave the job after the break, but my general manager then offered for me to stay, continue working flexible hours around my days in university. And, working there, I really enjoyed working in hotels, made some lifelong friends as well. After graduation, I took on a permanent job in the same hotel chain as a management trainee, which also comes with a 5-year work permit. And that is how my journey in hospitality really started. So from reception, I went on being in reservations to reservations manager to events manager. I got into revenue as even whilst being a reservations manager, I was already passionate in about driving revenue through yielding, being creative as much possible to capture revenue, to perform better than the month before, the year before, overbooking, no-shows, all these basics revenue management concepts. Back in the days, there were not many concepts of the big data or revenue management software or services widely adapted. So I used to be emailing our team, central reservations team, oh, can you apply minimum length of stay here, close out here, open this, open that. And that's when I realized, okay, there's a role called revenue manager. This is what I want to explore. So I graduated in accounting and finance. I can read the income statements, trial balances. I had a good score in taxation, but I realized I have no interest in the accounting field at all. I was meant to do 6 papers, final papers in ACCA after graduation, but I dropped out because I like numbers. But I also like being creative and I like people, hospitality. So I thought revenue management is the part that I want to explore. And this is how I got into revenue management. Long story.
No, it's good. I like the idea because some people think all sort of revenue manager, like the geek or the nerd in terms of numbers, the Excel spreadsheet master. Yes. But there's this other part of the role, as you're saying, like contact with people, dealing with other people, and being able to be creative. I think that's very important to how it's taken you throughout your career. Have you had any mentor, someone that has helped you throughout your career, or certain key points?
I actually have a few mentors, actually, because different stages of my career, I had few mentors. Can I list them? Can I name them? Okay. The first person who got me into revenue management mindset is a person called Alexandra Fevre. She's a very successful revenue consultant herself, now in the Swiss region. Back in the days, she was my reservations manager. And she's the one who taught me, like managing no-shows, overbooking KPIs. How can we overbook to make sure we counteract no-shows, having 100% occupancy, also managing troughs and peak nights. So she was that person who taught me. And until today, she's always there behind the scenes, mentoring me in my consultancy these days. I've known her for over 10 years now. And then the second person is Krupesh Patel, who is a VP at Michelle's, VP Commercial commercials at Michels and Taylors now. Krupesh, I met him when I was at Hilton. At Hilton, I was at the Revenue Management Consolidated Center. Krupesh was my line manager, and he taught me about managing stakeholders' expectations. And of course, delivering smart KPIs. So at Krupesh is where I learned a lot more in depth about revenue management. And then the third person would be, that's one more person. So the third person is Lisbeth Gernow, who was my commercial director when I was at the Hilton Park Lane. So this is where, so I was the revenue manager there, reporting to Lisbeth, and Lisbeth was managing all the other functions, event, sales, marketing, PR, revenue, reservations, bringing us all together. And that's where I learned the art of, bringing all these multiple departments together, working towards the common goal. Revenue can't work by itself, sales can't work by itself. Revenue needs to tell sales what department, what segment needs to bring business, tell marketing which segment or audience we need to market. So it's kind of bringing in the holistic approach. That's what commercial director I've learned, how to have this holistic view and approach and bringing these multiple departments together. And lastly is Guy Hilton, who's the general manager of Waldorf Hilton London. So Guy was he was allocated as my mentor when I was doing the development program within Hilton for Shine. It was called back in the day Shine program, where you get to become a director of commercial or director of operation. With Guy, he taught me about leadership in general, the importance within understanding the hotel as a whole. It's not just a one department. The hotel is made of a multiple department. And also understanding all the stakeholders involved. Quite often we used to have the mindset, stakeholders means it's the owners, the brand, but stakeholders means it's owners, brands, customers, and your team. These are the stakeholders. So it's bringing them together, and it's about the best interest, is serving for the best interest of the organization versus your self-interest. So it's kind of weighing the goal and the objective. Quite often we might have the self-interest, but it's not in line with the organization's interest. So it's having that mindset and sound judgment.
Okay. Lots of different parts, to make up, to build that perfect role.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So you work in different companies throughout your career, and now you have your consultancy firm, SK Consultancy. So what kind of services do you offer in your firm?
So I mean, SK Consultancy is fairly new. It's only under 1 year old. So in August, it'll be 1 year old. The core services, I mean, the services that we mainly include is revenue management, commercial strategies, independent business reviews, and project management. Of course, given my background, which is predominantly in revenue management, so revenue management is where it's highly in demand. So when it comes to revenue management, I offer interim cover, remote revenue management services, also looking at revenue audits, data cleaning, setting up a hotel's revenue department, looking at their selling strategy, reviewing the systems that they have in place, having pretty much mainly cleaning up, because some of the hotels, they do not have the systems in place. For example, they do not have a booking engine. They're still in an old fashion where customers still need to email. So it's kind of looking at the aspects that contribute to revenue. When it comes to commercial strategies, I am currently collaborating with my sales associates. So there's two of them. One of them is 8th Floor, is a sales representation. So I work with them with the Recovery Collective project. And then the other one is BVS London, another sales associate of mine. I work with them with the drone project. So it's basically what we do is we support hotels. A lot of times at the moment, particularly during this pandemic time, hotels are short-handed. A lot of roles, even revenue, sales, are all on furlough. And by the time they bring in the staff, there's a lot of gap there. So we are like the task force. So we have many tailor-made solutions. So we go into the hotel, we schedule a 1 or 2 hour call, looking at what they have currently, how can we competitively position the hotel, plan an action, devise an action plan, and then strategically implement it. So, so the hotel is gaining its competitive advantage. And then when it comes to project management, it's more about implementing systems, pre-opening and opening, which is what I'm very passionate about and I'm seeking at the moment. And when it comes to independent business reviews, it could be anything. They could give me their data, so it's interpreting their data, recording observations, and providing feedback and recommendations. How can they improvise or do better?
Non-stop action. And so how is that on a daily basis? What is your usual routine on a day? Is it mostly meetings or maybe Zoom at the moment? Or is it analyzing reports, a mix of everything?
It varies. It's no day is the same. It varies, and it all depends on the projects that I have. Some of the projects could be an ongoing project for 6 months, and then I have them for 3 days a week. Some of the projects could be 5 days a week. So it varies. I look at the hotel. It all depends what is their need. So setting up a revenue department could vary to a day-to-day revenue management. So it varies, and of course now with hotels opening up, I do have more meetings face-to-face. So it was great to be out last week. I had my first breakfast meeting, so it was nice. So it varies. I can't say every day is different. And of course, one of the things that has I do a lot these days is massive networking and to engage with a lot of tech providers and partners, because I think that is the future. So trying to gain as much as knowledge as much as possible in the tech world.
True, which is a big gap for some hotels where they are now. They should be very, very soon. So in your case, I mean, as I was saying before, you've had the commercial director role, but in the past you've also been revenue manager at senior level. So I was mentioning at the beginning, you kind of mix them together. Is that still very, like, people were still in silos in hotels, or is it getting more and more close as two roles into one?
It is getting close. I mean, I would say revenue is a component of commercial management. Revenue is not commercial, but it's a component of commercial, just like sales and marketing and PR, everything is a component. So commercial is like the umbrella. So commercial not necessarily has to be defined by a job title or a position itself, but it's about leaders in the business to be commercially astute. So in a hotel, they may not have to be a commercial leader to govern sales, marketing, revenue, etc. If all of these functions are commercially astute and they know how to work together. However, it seems, and it's proven to work better to have a commercial leader employed in the hotel and govern these functions to bring them working together. And the reason why I'm saying so is because of KPIs and objectives. So, KPIs, objectives is always in place, but what they fail to establish is a common goal. So goal is different to objective. Objective is very much individually driven, very department specific. But the common goal, is about profitability, total revenue management. So now, for example, if I were to give an example, very often sales managers are measured based on their sales performance. So, okay, what did your corporate segment revenue brought in this month? So, and then when it comes to a revenue manager, is measured in terms of the all rooms performance. So very often revenue and sales, they have an unhealthy competitiveness because sales is more focused on driving their corporate business or their entertainment business or their sales business. And then when it comes to the revenue manager, they have to look at all the segments. So say revenue management is based on the yielding strategy, closed out the corporate person or the sales manager is going to be demotivated and maybe even upset because they are not able to deliver their goal because of revenue strategy. So and I think this is where, in an ideal world, everyone should be commercially astute. Everyone should have the common goal. Then they all are commercially driven. So in a nutshell, so in an ideal world, everyone should be commercially driven, like, commercially astute, adapt the mindset. We all are working together for one common goal, which is to drive total revenue and profitability for the hotel. But in most cases, it works better when you have a commercial leader in the hotel to govern these functions, or a general manager that is commercially astute.
Yeah, to change the mindset of some people, because sometimes it's like, oh, it's not on my job description. I'm not meant to sell. That's for sales. Yeah, but we all should have, as you're saying, a common goal. Otherwise,
yes,
true.
It's about working together.
Yeah, and changing those mindsets. So you mentioned a couple of minutes ago about the technology. So how companies need to adapt to technology. So hospitality traditionally hasn't been famous for invest in technology. How do you see that now that you see many hotels and your clients interacting, and also you're in touch with a lot of different partners engaging with the technology companies? How do you see that relation now between hotels and technology?
The pandemic has really pushed hotels to check what they have when it comes to their tech stack. I think the issue is a lot of times hotels in general, they're very, very late to innovate. They're very, very late. So there's so many other industries, they're well ahead. But when it comes to hotel, they always wait for someone else to start with. So for example, chatbots, guest messaging, all has been there for the last 5 years. But hotels are only looking at it now because of COVID. They want to be COVID safe. They want to have an efficiency in terms of operating with less staffing, and then, with all this contactless requirement. So now when it comes to technology, the most often words used is tech stack. What I often ask hotels, do you have the right softwares and systems in place? Do you have the right person trained to use these systems? How do you manage your digital marketing, your operations, booking software, revenue management, guest services? A lot of hotels, they have the basics, the PMS, the CRS, RMS, and channel manager. These are the basics that they have. However, they're still very behind in investing in like CRMs, for instance, that guest messaging system. They're still very, very behind. They are looking into it. They're looking into it, but they are not well versed when it comes to what technology is right for their hotel and what fits in with the existing tech stack. Secondly, hoteliers are not familiar with the tech stacks and jargons. If you think about it, a lot of times, a PMS or a RMS and CRS champion in a hotel is a revenue manager, and sometimes the front of house manager or the reservations manager. Nobody else knows. So if that person leaves, there's no champion. So that system, another person might join to take over the role, but if they have not used the system, they have to go back into training. So which means there might be a cost in terms of training. Or sometimes the system is just left there, not being used. Or the system is left just there with all data. So for example, now let's say CRS, it links to your website, messaging updated. In current times, sometimes some of the roles people are on furlough. So let's say if revenue manager and front of house manager was the champion to update the CRS, and the message needs to be updated, but then with being furlough, it's not updated, and there's no one. So and then also when it comes to technology, quite often the first person they think of is the IT manager. If you think about it, they think IT manager is in charge of technology. And that is a misconception that IT manager oversees technology. We first need to establish that an IT manager's role is to support the day-to-day of the IT networks and the computer networks, the telephone systems. Of course, probably now with the keyless entry and everything. But there still hasn't been one person that is dedicated to look at all these technologies and software. And the pandemic has really pushed hotel in reevaluating their tech stacks. And hoteliers' challenge is they do not have the right person to look at their distribution, and they're probably being approached by many tech providers, and they end up taking up all solutions that is available out there, only to realize they have too many texts, but each of these texts are not talking to one another, because there could be complications or not knowing about APIs. Even when it comes to API, it's a broad topic by itself. So these systems are not talking to one another. And then again, systems are implemented, but then at some point it becomes obsolete because no one knows how to use it. It's not managed. And this is why we consultants are probably the right person for hotels to work with, because we are the middle person between the hotels and tech providers, and we can help the hotels by building the right tech stack. So we can, look at the tech providers, look at the existing tech stack at the hotel. So I think hotels, probably need to get to the mindset, maybe start approaching for external help. So which means then they have this ongoing support. In a nutshell. So I think these are the areas hotels need to invest, because they do not know they need to get external help to get ahead in the technology game.
Yeah, and there's a challenge, and it's a shame that you're saying, for example, they might invest not really knowing well, and then the technology might be just laying there because the champion is gone. And that links this investment in technology with investment in talent and talent and development and training people. So you don't really train the people in this case to use the tech. There's no use, obviously. How do you see, I mean, you've been working in the industry, you say, for almost 20 years now. How do you see the evolution of the roles and how they're trained? So the investment on training and development, do you see a change? Still not really?
So now when it comes to training and development, I have to admit, I mean, the big brands are well ahead of it. I've been with Hilton for 5.5 years, and I've had fantastic training and development. When it comes to PDPs, they also have a good enough training budgets. But there's always a limitation when it comes to this independently owned or privately owned group, because they're very much cost-centric. So, in some of these places, a personal development plan is probably non-existent. A training budget, departmental training budget, probably non-existent. And very often it's left to the heads of departments to train and develop their team. But they can only do so if they are provided the right tools and resources. So, and this is going back to Richard Branson's saying, right? Train your people well enough so they can leave, treat them well enough so they don't want to. But in most cases, I think in places like this, people tend to leave and then go and find somewhere where they can get the training. So I think, these privately owned groups and in an independently owned group, living costs aside, they need to start investing in people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think they go hand by hand, invest in technology, investing in people, so you have a way forward, which kind of links to the next question. I was going to ask you some advice for hotels now getting out of the pandemic. Now we are in the UK, so hotels are all fully open now for leisure, bars, restaurants, everything is open. So what are the main 2-3 points that you will advise to any hotel, like generic?
In general, yes,
exactly, yeah.
Of course.
The keys in the revenue strategy.
Yes, of course. I mean, there are tons of articles out there when it comes to COVID recovery strategy and everything. I mean, what I tell my hotels is back to basics. Revenue management is selling the right product to the right customer, at the right place, at the right time, to the right channel, it's making sure all of these points, right? It's not about, we have to have a higher price than the hotel next door. It's okay to sell your pricing is lower than 2019 or lower than the hotel next door. But how does your pricing strategy affect your profitability and your revenue? So focus internally first and focusing externally. That is very crucial. So it's doing what is right for the hotel. And I think a few days ago, I had a revenue webinar with a financial expert, and he was telling, it's all about back to basics. Opening hotel now, treat it like you are opening as a brand new hotel. What would you do to capture demand? So exactly, for me, it's about back to basics. Secondly, have a plan. It's understandable, with COVID time, we do not have historical data, trends, and patterns right now. However, with the amount of data we have, we should focus the selling strategy to the market that is relevant. for both short and long term. Plan and create a list of commercial activities, on the basis of 3 months, 6 months, 12 months with measurable targets. No point having activities that does not bring some form of results. Eliminate activities that are not working. Do not waste your time on non-productive activities, really. And then lastly, invest in a technology, a CRM to start with. I think that is very crucial because that supports your digital marketing efforts. Stay communicated with your guests. As you know, out of sight, out of mind. So stay in touch. Let your hotel know that you're still there, you're still standing, you're not closed, you're open and you're selling. Welcome them back and tell them what is going on with the hotel.
Okay, so back to basics, have a proper plan with measurable targets and invest in technology. Okay, noted. Now, another question in terms of revenue, trying to get a lot of info from your side. Total revenue. It's been there. A lot of people talk about the total revenue, but I think besides rooms, it tends to be challenging when it comes to the info to really have a proper total revenue strategy. So what is your take from your experience and what you see with your clients?
For me, I would say, we shouldn't stop when it comes to revenue management. We shouldn't stop just at rooms revenue management. We cannot just measure a hotel's total performance based on the ADR and RevPAR and occupancy achieved. There is more than that. GMs and owners need to realize, adapting revenue management principles, across other areas of business like food and beverage outlets, event spaces, car park, gyms, spa, can capture untapped revenue and profit potential. Total revenue management provides owners and GMs the opportunity to establish that one common goal for all of these departments, and that common goal is GOPA. So as I mentioned previously, how to kill silo working is by establishing a common goal. So to run a successful and profitable hotel, GMs and owners need to adapt that one common goal. So that's where I would encourage total revenue management should be adapted widely and not just stopping at rooms revenue management. And we've seen during this pandemic at the moment, especially before hotels were open, is food and beverage that were allowed to open. And some hotels were very smart. They've already adapted, having Uber Eats and delivering foods from their hotel restaurants. So, and this all comes through the revenue management mindset. So it has to be adapted across the whole hotel, not just for rooms.
No, true, 100%. Yeah. Discussing with one talk a few weeks ago, the fact that at the end of the day, if you're delivering room service to the rooms, you can deliver outside as well. For some hotels, they have understood it very quickly, as you're saying, and they adapted well. Okay, so let's move into the last part. Advice for the young ones. There might be people now that they are considering, should I or should I not go into hospitality, given the fact that the situation is challenging. So what will you tell to those people having that doubt?
I think, yes, current times are challenging, but it not necessarily is going to be like this forever. As we've seen, especially in London, the amount of hotels that has just opened this month, in addition, I'm talking about the newly opened hotels. There's so many. So there's plenty of job opportunities out there when it comes to hospitality. Yes, it might look slow, but things are picking up, and we can see with the vaccination rate, which is fastly progressing in most countries across Europe, and people are starting to travel. My first consideration is, if you think hospitality is the right part for you, take the opportunity. Do not hesitate. Hospitality is a fantastic industry. When it comes to, it's all about being a people's person. It's all about how you want to make someone feel. That is what hospitality is about, and that's what I enjoy about hospitality. It's about connecting with people, and there's also perks being in hospitality. All these team member rates that you tend to get. It makes traveling easy. You can go across the world using your staff benefits. So that's another perks to consider in terms of joining hospitality. And with the immense opening of hotels across the world, you can always move around. You're not limited in just to be in one country when it comes to hospitality. you can move as long it's allowed. You're allowed to travel and work in another place. You can move across the world if you want. You can go to Dubai, you can go to Asia. You're not limited. Oh, hospitality is only ideal for the UK or just ideal for Europe. You can go across the world. So, and that's one thing great about hospitality. It's always needed in many parts of the world. So if you ever have the opportunity, you like being a people's person, you like traveling, go for it. Take the opportunity.
Okay, brilliant advice. Last one there. What about someone who might be interested in going to revenue? So what kind of skill set should they have if they want to have a successful career, let's say, within revenue?
Okay, I mean, very often people think revenue means you have to know how to do Excel, how to use pivot tables, how to use macros and everything. Remember, these skills can be learned. You can learn as long as you're willing to learn. It's there. I think what's most important when it comes to revenue is about you being able to enjoy data and numbers. It's about interpreting trends, predicting trends. What would it be in the future? How can you make it better? How can you learn from it? So when it comes to revenue management, there's no right or wrong answers. It's about trial and errors, and most importantly, learning from it and making continual improvements on how to make it better. So I think that is the core thing about revenue management.
Okay, more about the attitude than the knowledge on itself on the tools. Perfect. Any last thought that you have? I don't know, you have supported any charity, any work that you do for any cause?
So I mean, I always think giving back to the community is very important, no matter what you do, whatever opportunity that you get. So last just April recently, I did the cancer research race for Life at Home. So I ran 5K and I raised some money. My target was 500, so I was close to my target. I raised 476, but I'm very happy, 95% of my target KPI. So I'm very, very pleased about that. And I always think, I like to continue doing it because it's an amazing feeling when you're able to give back. You do something you enjoy, and also being able to give back is the most amazing feeling ever. So my next plan is to organize something for Christmas where I can organize presents for the children at the Great Ormond Hospital. So I have that plan, so I need to find out how I can coordinate it. So yes, this will be an ongoing thing which I plan to do twice a year. I'm not dedicated to a special cause or organization. I just want to be able to give back wherever I get the opportunity.
Very nice. Novel cause. Brilliant. Well, thanks very much. Thanks for all the insights, all the info you've been sharing during this conversation. Sheila Krishnan, revenue management and commercial consultant. You have your own firm, SK Consultancy. Again, thank you, and hopefully talk soon. Okay.
Thank you, Pablo. Thank you so much.
That was all for now. Hope you found it useful. Remember that you have more information on our website www.torresconsulting.co.uk, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and Twitter. Stay well. Goodbye for now.